Hello, everybody. My name is Coco, pronouns they, them. I'm the Community Healing Director at Rooted Enrichment Center. I'm here with my co-directors, and today we're going to discuss what decolonization means to us in the workplace. We're going to go around and everyone introduce themselves, and this is the order that we'll answer the questions in, just to keep things flowing. All right, start with Kama.
Cameron Mitchell, founder and executive director.
I'm Heather Mitchell, pronouns she, hers, and I'm Youth Enrichment Director.
And I'm Vanessa Moon. I'm the Birth Justice Director, pronouns she.
Pronouns she, they.
So I guess we'll start by just to give like your basic, like I'd like to hear everybody's idea, like of what your basic understanding of what decolonization means to you, and then we'll move on to discussing what it means in the workplace.
Decolonization means to me showing up for yourself, your family, and your community with a good for all vibe, I guess. Like, I feel like colonization created individualism and cultural harm through individualism to feed capitalism and consumerism to keep the richest richer. And so if you start to disrupt that in your own self, the individualism in yourself, that ripple starts to happen in your family and beyond. I think that's what decolonization means to me.
Nice.
Making sure we're leaning into collective good instead of individual wants and needs.
That's quite comprehensive. I don't know if I can add to yes,
Okay.
and that it means that for me as well. And also looking at ways in which white supremacist values permeate our culture and how we can work to dismantle some of that and what does it mean to be collectivistic. And so it's just kind of like getting clear on what those pieces are, slowing down, valuing people over profit, you know? So it means so much.
For me, I always think of asking questions about where did these rules and standards come from and do they benefit someone economically over the person who might be doing the work. So trying to make sure that there's, excuse me, reasons for the way that we do things that do serve that dismantling and decolonization. We are lifting up families and the collective rather than just, I guess, to use a colloquialism, pay the man, you know.
I'd say for me, being decolonized, especially after working here for like I think it's been almost 2 years, just under 2 years.
Ooh.
Um, I think it's mostly just like having more focus on my relationships. Like nothing happens in a vacuum,
Mm,
and like intention versus impact,
mm,
and like being able to like look at like sort of I don't know, like just to hold space for my feelings. Like if an interaction didn't land well for me, then I have to sort of like pay more attention to my response so I don't cause an equal amount of harm.
mm.
You know what I mean? And so that's one of the things I think about like with decolonization, like it's just more there's just a bit more space emotionally to sort of process things and like figure out how we can still be in relationship with one another. I really feel like nowadays people have a I'm going to protect my peace attitude. You know what I mean? And people are like real quick to cut somebody off or real quick to whatever. And then whereas like decolonization, that idea for me has made me realize that I still want to be in a relationship with you,
Mhm.
even though I have hard feelings. You know what I mean? So how do I hold space for both? And then, you know, and so that's like the first thing that came to my mind. It's just like, you know, just a bit more openness and slowness and a bit more patience with the relationships and how things unfold.
And leaning into like that, I love that. Also leaning into the uncomfortability of relationships instead of leaning out, you know, again, making space, always making space. But like, how are we having those difficult conversations? How are we in relationship, in right relationship with each other, you know? And that could change. And again, being able to adapt to different people in ways and respond intentionally. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Absolutely. So next, what does decolonization in the workplace specifically look like to you? Like, how do you bring this to work with you every day?
Um, For me, as the ED and founder, and I guess visionary of the work, it's really tapping into my abundant mindset, knowing that like all those interpersonal conflicts or financial issues or hiring issues or whatever, facilities issues, having the lens that it's still an abundant thing. It's just a fail forward, a lesson learned, an opportunity for growth. That is number one for me because I can quickly, as the founder, having years and years and years of failed relationships with funders, a lot of no's, and then building that trust and building those relationships, I still get no's. I write grants and get no's. And if I have a lack mindset, we're never going to get to the next level.
Yeah.
If I have a conflict with an employer, if I have to let someone go, having an abundant worldview that they're going to find the perfect fit after here, we're going to find the perfect person to fill the role. It's never like a negative thing. It's just a shift, a change. And I think the abundant worldview is the top priority for me to help navigate all the changes that will come in the workplace and in the world. And then second would be less hierarchy. It's a little frustrating sometimes because less hierarchy means we're all making decisions together, we're being a collective, we're making sure that everyone's access needs are met. Takes a longer time, which can be heighten the impatience and frustration, but it also gives voice to every single person in disrupting the hierarchy in the workplace, which leads into the last one. Abundant worldview, less hierarchy, and transformative justice. I have my little notes. Transformative justice are transformative ways of being. Because we can sit here and talk about decolonization and abundant worldview and less hierarchy all day, but if we're not practicing it, then we're not transforming the narrative for us as a workplace and organization and our constituents and then the community. So I like to think about the ripple. It means like, what am I doing today to affect the ripple? Because if you show up in a lack mindset with your own agenda at hand and you're, well, this is how I am and that's how I always will be, you're never going to get to the next level. You're not going to decolonize yourself or the workplace.
I was going to speak a little bit to the hierarchy too, of just like really being mindful of my power in as a director and how I am listening to the voices of, those that I am responsible for. And making space for them to feel empowered to make decisions, even though sometimes because I have my Virgoism.
Particular.
I'm a little particular. And but also knowing that if you cultivate that open relationship, all voices can be heard, even my own particular voice can still be made space for as well. But it just enriches the work. Like I find that it's really fun. We lean into the fun aspect of it. And also I die on the horse of adaptability. Like I believe that being able to make space, and this is even, we've gotten some feedback from the youth. They were like, we want to see you all play more. And as I did some research into play is the foundation of adaptability and creativity. And so making space to have that joy and that sense of play, especially if we're serving youth who have a real sense of play, we can't lose that. We can't be separate from that. And again, change is inevitable. And if we are forcing ourselves against the flow of change, we will not be decolonized. So leaning into that can sometimes be, because we as humans, we like this is safe, this is stable, change is scary, transition is scary. But when you lean into it a little bit, I think if we find that it can be a fun ride and just be joyful.
Yeah, they say magic happens outside of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
We like magic.
Yeah,
We do like magic.
Yeah.
I'm gonna echo what you said, Heather, and I really bring decolonization to the workplace through deep listening, and leaving my assumptions at the door. And that served me well in my birth work as a doula and nurse, and also in with the cohort of doulas that we have now, really deeply listening to their concerns. They bring me their concerns from the client's perspective as well, so that I can go into institutional spaces and talk about what are the experiences that people are having, so that we can change our systems here at Rooted to bring more freedom to their birth experience. So, and with Erica and I feel like it's really important for me to listen deeply. She's our doula coordinator, and elevate her voice because she's, you know, she's part of the community that we want to impact, and I want to make sure that that voice is at the head instead of leadership voice. So.
I don't know, you guys all made such good points. I think mine always comes back to, especially recently, over the past like couple of weeks, I'm aware of like the communication piece, how like being decolonized, like I guess I'm more aware lately that we make a lot of assumptions. Like we feel like a person should know something,
Yeah.
like, and like when I worked for the city, like it's a lot of times we would say, why would you do that? Everybody knows not to do that, or everybody, you know what I mean? And I'm realizing now that, you know, there's a person I'm responsible for. I love the way you put that because I don't like employee, like I like, you know what I mean? But just that assumption, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'm realizing now that, you know, you should just say the thing and, you know, and just say it with kindness and then have a conversation and just ask, like, you know, I was under the impression this would happen, but this happened instead. Can we talk about it, you know?
Yes.
And that's really uncomfortable, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And just like, and yeah, so I just, the communication piece, like it's okay to slow down and ask questions. And sometimes when I tear up, and it's okay, just, and I love Adia. Adia is a Black and Brown therapy coordinator, because I can just say, I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now, and I'm trying really hard not to be like horrible to you. I don't want to make you feel the way other managers have made me feel. And so like I might cry or I might, you know what I mean? Like we've actually had that conversation before, and but it's nice to be in a space where you can say that, like, this is how I feel and this is what I'm trying to do. And like you told me a couple days ago, just explain, like, this is where I'm trying to get to. And, you know, so.
Yeah, that you're bringing up those transformative values of
Mhm.
vulnerability and authenticity to the
Yeah.
workplace, which is so counterculture, counter colonization, right? I've had plenty of conversations with consultants and coaches around how much emotion do you bring into the work? And as emotional beings, I'm like, all of it, right? And they're like, well, but how?
Right.
So I think showing up as your full emotional, authentic, vulnerable self is going to get you further in the workplace. But it's like, how are you doing it? And I love your approach, like starting with the awkwardness. I don't want you to make it feel away, but I got to say things. So dope. That's really dope. That's how we make transformation happen. And it's really easy to be in our little decolonized rooted bubble and be like, what are you talking about? That's not how we do it. If we don't have that expectation that other people don't know what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good.
So before we wrap up, I do have a question. I'd like us to share our resources that like we all had to learn decolonization somewhere. So is there like a book or a movie or just poetry or something that you've, you know, experienced that like sort of helped you understand what it means to decolonize better? And if so, like what is it?
Yeah. I think what Heather lifted up earlier, there's a article and a glossary of white supremacist terms by I don't have
Is
her
it
name.
Tema Okun or
Tema Okun. Look at you.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great resource. I want to caution people on reading them verbatim like it's a dictionary and running with it. It's like a nuanced, layered thing. It's just good to have those terminologies.
Yeah.
And they overlap, and it's not like you can just call out white people like that. You got to kind of be in relationship with them. And then Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Marie Brown. She doesn't speak to colonization specifically, but she talks about how we as humans can be better for ourselves and with each other and nature through these strategies. So I'll lift up both of those.
For me, this a level of somatic experiencing as well. Like I find myself like dancing with children, with intergenerational with different people from different walks of life. Maybe we don't even speak the same language. To me, that's practicing decolonization. And so whatever you practice becomes permanent. And so the more we do so, I think that it really can help lean into the decolonized ways.
I'm glad you mentioned movie because I really love the movie The Motorcycle Diaries. It's a loose biography of Che Guevara's motorcycle trip across South America. And the injustices that he encounters on that ride really bring to light, especially in that era, how decolonization was stripping nature and harming culture. And so that really brought it home for me, and as well as the Ava Marie Brown.
For me, I'd say a book I just read. I actually didn't like the book very much. It was The Gilda Stories by Joel Gomez. It's a vampire story, and of course, like I read a lot of vampire books over the years, so I was expecting like, you know what I mean, like badass, like you know what I mean. And the book is way more of an emotional, internal like journey, but it really is an excellent like picture of what decolonization looks like as far as like your relationships and family and being in right relationship with the earth. And it was just really beautiful. And so when I ended the book, I was like, wow, that was kind of boring, but it was also really beautiful, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It's like
yeah,
leaning into the futurism.
exactly.
Yeah. We can reimagine. And I think like fiction can do that. Like give you
Absolutely.
another, which, a lot of Avery Murray is I've read like Parable of the Sower, and you're like, oh,
I know.
that's not how we want to be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's go, let's how do we work to
Yeah.
so yeah, I love leaning into how
And then I
science fiction
think
can
anything written by spirit-led indigenous person would give you some insight to decolonization, as well as just reading books from people that are not from the US
yes.
and their interpretation of colonization and their experience of it across the world. Those have been really helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. This was fun. I'm
Thanks so
excited.
much.
Thank you.
Oh.
Bye, community.
Bye.